Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. If you're passionate about South African politics and want to stay informed on the latest power shifts and electoral developments, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. We always want to hear from you. Now let's dive into one of the most heated stories out of Limpopo, a brewing electoral dispute that's not just local, but symptomatic of a much larger crisis of trust in South Africa's electoral system. We're talking about the uMkhonto weSizwe party, or MK party, and their formal complaint to the Independent Electoral Commission, the IEC, regarding a by-election in Ward 13, Seshego, Polokwane. At first glance, it might seem like a routine political objection, but when you dig deeper, this challenge strikes at the heart of electoral integrity and public trust in democratic institutions. The upcoming by-election was called after the previous councillor for Ward 13 was expelled for misconduct, a sign that political accountability, at least on paper, is still functioning. But what's triggered the current controversy is the MK party's claim that the voter roll, the very backbone of a free and fair election, is deeply flawed. According to MK party provincial convener Charmaine Nel, their concern is not just a few misplaced names here and there. The party alleges that a staggering 3,500 voters currently listed on the roll for Ward 13 are not even residents of the ward. Let that number sink in, 3,500. That's enough to completely tip the balance of a by-election and possibly place control of the ward in the hands of outsiders. The MK party is taking this seriously. They formally submitted an objection to the IEC, calling for the suspension of the by-election process until the voters' roll is reviewed and corrected. Nel insists that only legitimate, local residents should be allowed to cast their votes in Ward 13, and anything less undermines the democratic process. Now, let's talk context. The MK party is no small fringe movement anymore. Since its dramatic debut in the 2024 general elections, largely backed by Jacob Zuma, it has proven to be a disruptor in provincial and local politics. Limpopo has been one of the provinces where the party is gaining traction, and this by-election could be a crucial test of its grassroots strength. But the story doesn't end there. In response to the MKP's objection, the IEC has come out swinging. Limpopo's provincial electoral officer, uMkhonto, has dismissed the complaint as being based on outdated information and misinformation. According to Matita, all the voting stations listed under Ward 13 are correct, and there's no mistake on the IEC's part. She even went so far as to say that it's quite surprising that the MK party is still relying on what she calls incorrect records to file their objections. The pushback from the IEC is firm and defensive, and honestly, that's raising even more questions. Why such a strong denial, so quickly? Is there room for the possibility that administrative boundaries may have shifted without transparent communication? Or that the electoral map, which can be complex, especially after recent changes, might indeed be outdated on both sides? Regardless of which side you're on, this clash underscores a much deeper issue: public confidence in our democratic institutions. South Africa is still recovering from a highly contested general election cycle in 2024. Accusations of voter manipulation, questions around the independence of the IEC, and allegations of political interference have left many South Africans wary of the system. So when a party like MKP raises alarms about 3,500 potentially misplaced voters, it cannot be brushed off lightly, even if the IEC insists it's all above board. The truth is, electoral credibility depends on transparency and public trust, not just procedural correctness. Let's also not forget that Ward 13 is not just any ward. It's in Seshego, a densely populated and politically active area in Polokwane, the kind of place where community voices are loud, and local issues matter deeply. If the MK party manages to build momentum here, it could shift dynamics not only within Limpopo but also serve as a symbol of the MKP's growing reach and legitimacy outside of its traditional base in KwaZulu-Natal. And this is where it gets even more sensitive, because we're dealing with political legitimacy. If the MK party wins a by-election where the voters' roll is later found to be compromised, it opens the door to accusations of fraud or manipulation. On the flip side, if they lose, and it's later confirmed that thousands of non-residents voted, it further deepens suspicions of institutional bias against newer, less established parties. All of this is playing out at a time when South Africans are increasingly skeptical about the fairness of elections and the impartiality of state institutions. The IEC has long been respected as a neutral arbiter, but that trust can't be taken for granted. It must be earned, and constantly re-earned, through clarity, engagement, and responsiveness to valid concerns. So, what's next? As it stands, the IEC says they are investigating the complaint. But it's not clear whether the by-election will be delayed or if the MK party's objection will be upheld. What we do know is that the tension is real, and the outcome of this dispute will have ripple effects far beyond Ward 13. If the IEC digs in its heels and dismisses the complaint without thorough and transparent investigation, it risks alienating voters who are already feeling disenfranchised. On the other hand, if the MKP's claims are substantiated, it could spark a broader review of voter registration systems, not just in Limpopo but nationwide. And in all of this, the people of Ward 13 are caught in the middle. These residents deserve a clean, fair election, one that reflects their will and isn't overshadowed by allegations and mistrust. We'll be keeping a close eye on how this story unfolds. If you live in the area or have experienced voter roll issues yourself, we want to hear from you. Drop us a comment and share your thoughts. Do you think the IEC is being transparent enough? Or do you believe the MK party is politicizing the issue? Remember to like this video if you found it informative, subscribe for more deep dives into South Africa's political landscape, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and as always, see you next time.